Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So the main benefit that we get from the hadith number 11 is that dhikr is going to give you strength to be able to deal with motherhood, to be able to deal with the life and the struggles that the life will have in store for you as a wife. And it'll give you the strength to be able to do the work that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained for you to do. Okay? Alright, one of the questions that we had right before the class was, is it obligatory for a wife to actually do things? Because I've heard that it is not. There are fuqaha who say that it is obligatory. There are fuqaha who say it's not. Some ulama, some jurists who say that it is obligatory. There are others who say it's not. But I go back to the very last point that I made, and that is that because in our societies, the husbands are naturally going above and beyond what they have to do in terms of financing, we have to reasonably come to a middle ground in a lot of these things. Remember, Umar ibn Khattab was taking turns going to work, meaning he was working approximately 3 days a week. Most men nowadays work 5 days a week as a bare minimum, and then they sometimes do weekend shifts as well. So now on top of that, you say to him, no, you're the one that's supposed to also make sure the house and the food is ready. Do you see what I'm saying here? So we have to be reasonable, because generally speaking, societal norms have changed in many capacities. So if you then, when he's giving you so much more in terms of wealth, in terms of living space, in terms of all of these other things, then you say, you know what, I've heard that the Shafi'iyya, for example, they say that the woman doesn't have to do khudma. Okay. Well, he must have also heard, if he was going to a lesson, probably he isn't, but if he was going to a lesson, he must have also heard the bare minimum of what he has to do in terms of house space that he has to keep his wife in is probably like 300 ringgits a month. So he can get a part-time job and deal with it. But then you'll be living in a little hut. Because that's his obligation, if you want to go to a pure textual obligation. Okay? The problem in our societies is we all want to take, and we don't want to give. So the husband comes, he wants his wife to go for work, a second job. He wants his wife to be looking like Britney Spears, even though she's so old now, right? He wants his wife to be looking like, he wants her to be ready at every single time and completely dressed up and so on and so forth. He wants his wife to be a superwoman, okay? In addition to that, he wants her to be looking after the children. He wants her to be cooking the food, and the best food, better than the chef that he watches on TV, right? All of these things. And he's also asking for her to go to a job to earn a second income, because it's too expensive to live up to the Jones in our society today. So you have to have a second job as well. طيب. Now on the other hand, the woman, she also is irrational sometimes in what she expects from the man. She wants him to be going for 5 days a week, bare minimum, and another 2, and I told you Umar was only going 3 days a week to work. 3 and sometimes 4. Because every other day he would exchange with his neighbor. So she wants him to go 5 days, and then if he can, then also the weekend shifts as well, and probably some side hustles as well. Okay? So at night time, there's also these side hustles going on to pay for the extra expenses in the house. Then she wants more than the regular nafaqah that she deserves, because her girlfriends also have like these other things, so she have to keep up with not just one person, every person from amidst the girlfriend. So one of them likes a nice phone, she wants the nice phone. One of them likes the nice jewelry, she wants the nice jewelry. One of them likes the nice clothes, she wants the nice clothes. One of them likes the nice car, she wants the nice car, even though she doesn't want it, just to keep up. Okay? Then on top of that, she wants him to come home, and then she says, you know what? The Prophet ﷺ used to also help out in the house. So you got to be helping out in the house. Miskeen, the man has been working 7 days. How often did the Prophet used to work? I'm saying people are no longer reasonable. People are no longer reasonable. So if your husband is working a little bit more, then respect that and help out in the home. If your wife has a job, then respect that and do the work at home. One party in this relationship cannot enslave the other. And that's actually what ends up happening. There's one party which ends up pretty much enslaving the other party, thinking that I can completely trump all of his rights or her rights, and then I can have it my way. I want to have my cake and I want to eat it too. You can't have your cake and you can't eat it too. You need to be reasonable. Okay? So if your husband is the one that's the primary breadwinner and he's working 7 days a week or 5 days a week even, then when he's going to come home, he's going to need some personal time as well. You have to respect that. And there is no sunnah. By the way, there's this myth amongst a lot of sisters that the Prophet used to spend 8 hours with Allah, 8 hours with his wives, and 8 hours with the ummah. I mean, so where's the time to sleep again? There's no such thing. There's no such sunnah. These are just a lot of du'at. They come up with random things and then just say it to please people, and it sounds nice and people take it home without thinking about it. There's no sunnah like that. The Prophet ﷺ, the amount of time he used to spend with his wives was very limited, because he had a lot of things to do outside with the ummah. The Prophet ﷺ, he had 9 wives, so meaning he would meet one of them every 9th day. So why don't you think about that sunnah as well? I'm saying go back to reason. Be reasonable. If your husband ends up being the guy that's working a lot, you're going to have to take up some of the jobs at home. If you're the one who's working a lot by merit of you being more educated than your husband, or by merit of you just finding a job and he unable to do that, then he has to be reasonable and he has to work out at the home. He has to make sure that he's also looking after. You're both equally working, you both equally have to do things at home as well. Okay? That's the simple reality. I keep going in the back, and I said in the first dars, when I was talking about these gender roles, I said this is the ideal circumstance. But you won't always be living in ideal circumstance. Ideal circumstance, the husband is breadwinning, the wife is chilling at home, but looking after the family. Some people, some households have this completely ideal circumstance. The husband has good enough of an income to be able to serve the house and more, and the wife, she can do everything she wants at home. But most households don't end up having this ideal circumstance. In that case, you have to come to a reasonable, ideal middle ground. Okay? So not ideal, you have to come to a reasonable middle ground, an acceptable middle ground. طيب. Inshallah, I think it's clear now, right? Jameel.